Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode of the Wingmen podcast is brought to you by Juniper Mountain Coffee. You know, guys, coffee is important for hunting. Coffee is especially important for waterfowlers. We're constantly burning that candle at both ends, and we need a high-quality fuel source to get us caffeinated and get us on the go. And I tell you what, Juniper Mountain Coffee is, in my opinion, the best coffee that I've ever had. They source high-quality coffees from classic coffee-growing regions and small farmers. Their coffee is premium and as good as it gets. So, hey, when you're reaching for coffee this fall or anytime, reach for Juniper Mountain Coffee. Hey, guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen podcast. And this one, I'm going at it by myself, solo this time. Had some reschedules and some conflict schedules, or some scheduling conflicts, I should say, pop up. And so I just wanted to sit down and answer some of the questions that you guys have sent in, give some shout outs, say thank you, first of all, for listening and taking the time to drop a question. It's been really successful. I've enjoyed answering your questions. I think it kind of drives conversation really nicely, and it's fun. It's fun to have questions to answer and to be able to really target what you guys want to know on this podcast. So without further ado, let's dive right into some of those questions. And then I'm going to give you an update on, how the season's going so far, where I'm at with things, and it's year 2 with Hondo. And so I'm going to give you a little update on how he's doing and how what training I've been focusing on with him to get him to this point in the season. So first question comes from @mcodum88, and it has to do with the Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy programming, specifically 52 plus, and it's from an older video that we did when we were going through that process with Hondo. And he asks, mcodum88 asks, would you recommend Cornerstone for an upland dog? Short answer, 100%. Yes, 100%. Because I don't think that the things that you're going to want to teach an upland dog as far as obedience, kennel training, crate training, steadiness, come, sit, stay, even some basic retrieving, those are all things I would want an upland dog to be able to do. I want my upland dog to kennel. I want my upland dog to be crate trained. I want my upland dog to come sit and stay when I need it to. And recall is important for all dogs, especially important for hunting dogs, because we've got to be able to control those dogs in the field. And that's where Cornerstone 52 plus, Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy's 52 plus programming shines, in my opinion, is helping you with those, helping you get started right, get off on the right foot. Now, for an upland specific dog, you may want to go into more upland specific training regimens or programs once you get started. But the 52 plus is, especially the first few weeks when you're looking at, basic obedience and some crate training things, that's invaluable for any kind of a dog, not just a retriever or a waterfowl dog. I would definitely use that on an upland dog. I'm looking at a third dog right now, and it will be the next project I take on for a dog. It's going to be an upland bird dog, guys. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet with that. Maybe a Brittany, a little French Brittany. Maybe an English pointer. I don't know. I know those are like polar opposites for you upland guys are like, whoa, what? Anyway, that's kind of where I'm leaning. But I'm definitely going to be using a lot of the same training methods and training practices that I did with Hondo, with Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, with my upland bird dog. Again, I think that if you go the right route, if you do the research and you go with a good, reputable breeder who's breeding high-bred, high-pedigreed bird dogs, your hunt drive, your pointing drive, your retrieving instincts are going to be bred into those dogs. And it's something they're going to kind of you're going to just kind of fine tune. You're going to hone that within those dogs. You're not going to have to teach the dog how to point a bird. It's going to point a bird naturally because it's what it's bred to do. Kind of like with a retriever, it's bred to retrieve. And if you have a dog that isn't retrieving birds, that's a problem. And it's usually a pedigree problem or a bloodline problem. Sometimes it's behavioral. But when you get a dog to do, when you get a dog and let it do what it's bred to do, as in the case of an upland pointing dog, upland bird dog, it's going to do it. Labs are going to hunt dry ground. They're going to flush birds. Pointers are going to point birds. That's what they're bred to do. Unless you're severely discouraging that, or you have a dog that's been watered down through backyard breeding programs, then you may have some issues. But as a general rule, if you're encouraging pointing, if you're encouraging that behavior, and I'm not an upland dog trainer by any stretch, but if you're doing whoa drills and you're really working that dog, and the most important thing is birds, getting it on birds, then the obedience stuff and the basic commands like I want my dog to kennel when I tell it to kennel. I want my dog to be comfortable in its crate. I want my dog to come. I want my dog to heel. I want my dog to be steady or calm or to whoa when I need it to. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy is perfect for all of those things. So I hope I answered that question. I wouldn't hesitate to purchase that program and use it on an upland dog, or if you have the program, to use it on an upland bird dog. By all means, get more opinions than just mine. I'm not the gospel out here when it comes to upland bird dogs. I've had lots of different upland bird dogs. All of my labs hunt upland birds and have hunted upland birds. I know what I like. I know what I want a dog to do, what I need a dog to do in the field, and I know that, especially for basic obedience training, the Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy for an upland dog is going to be perfect. I know, I'd heard anyway that there were rumors about Cornerstone bringing out an upland academy. I'm not sure where they are on that. You can always go to cornerstonegundogacademy.com, check it out, see what they offer. I've been pleased with the program and with Hondo, and I think you would be pleased with it on an upland dog as well. So there's your answer. Long story short, 100% use it. This episode of the Wingmen podcast is brought to you by Savage. Guys, a couple years ago, I started shooting a Savage Renegade shotgun and cannot tell you how impressed I have been with the product. I've put thousands of rounds through a couple of different models that I have, and they do nothing but go bang and kill birds, and that is what I need in a shotgun. The fit and performance is next level. I love how comfortable they are. I love the fact I can adjust the fit if need be. I love the fact that the gun is super tough, cycles and works in all conditions, and gotta say, they just plain kill birds. So my next question comes from Jackie Brown 96. What jacket are you wearing from Kryptek? Well, depends on the day, depends on the hunt, depends on the conditions. I wear a lot of different jackets from Kryptek. We kind of all do, but I'll just focus on what I wear. Guys, I am a huge proponent of puffy jackets for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're super warm. Number two, they don't take up any space in my blind bag. I can stuff an entire Kryptek Lycos 2 jacket, Lycos 2 hooded jacket. I can stuff the whole thing into its pocket and put that in my Shen wax cloth blind bag. My, I think it's called the timber bag from Shen. I can stuff that in that bag and still have room for other things. In fact, I just did over Thanksgiving a couple weeks back on a hunt I did on Thanksgiving morning. I was able to just stuff it in there and go. I love that Lycos 2 jacket from Kryptek in several different patterns. The Flyway Dead Zone it's a great pattern for hunting where you've got dead grasses, other dead vegetation along riverbanks, along ponds and cattail marshes, cornfields, dry cornfields this time of year. It's an awesome pattern for that. If you're hunting a lot of timber, I would say look for that skyfall pattern. The skyfall pattern is Kryptek's whitetail pattern, but holy smokes, does it work well in timbered scenarios, like flooded timber for that matter, or brushy conditions like a brushy river bottom or things like that. Blends in really, really well. But that's the Lycos 2 jacket. I wear that jacket about probably 90% of the time. The only thing, this is my only gripe about any kind of puffy, not just the Lycos 2, but any kind of puffy, is they are a little fragile. They can snag in the brush. They will snag definitely extremely easily on barbed wire fences. If you know you're going to be hunting around rougher brush, thorns, wire, anything like that, getting in and out of a tight spot where stuff can snag on your jacket, you might want to look at the Aegis jacket. It's insulated. That's a really warm jacket that Kryptek offers. It's not packable. And you can stuff it in something, but it's going to take up more space. But it's super warm, super comfortable. The other jacket I've been wearing a lot is the Njord jacket. That is a windproof jacket that has a high pile fleece liner on the inside with almost a soft shell, low nap, fleecy exterior. It's incredibly warm. It's very soft. It's very comfortable, and it's going to be much more durable than a puffy jacket. It's not packable necessarily, but that's not the end all be all for a lot of waterfowl guys. A lot of guys aren't packing stuff in like we do on a lot of the hunts that we do out here. Those three jackets, they'll cover everything that you want to do, especially the Aegis and the Njord jackets from Kryptek. Again, try to match your camouflage patterns with your elements and with your backgrounds, with your environment, and you'll be just fine. You'll disappear with Kryptek's patterns. There's another jacket that I really, really like, and it's the Dalibor. The Dalibor jacket is kind of like a shell, like a soft shell, if you will. It's windproof, and it is probably my favorite jacket for going over the top of, say, a Chronos hoodie, and with a puffy vest, maybe a Lycos vest. Those three put together, I'm super mobile. I can swing a shotgun really, really easily with that setup. I'm protected from the elements incredibly well, and I'm warm, but I have layers that I can adjust to any situation. Being a big game guy as well on the as an avid wing shooter, I like layers. I really like to be able to peel stuff off, put stuff on, and have things that I can take with me very, very easily. You won't see me go on very many hunts, whether it's big game or upland or waterfowl, when I don't have some sort of a fleece hoodie like the Chronos. Definitely a merino-based layer like the Theos, the Kryptek Theos. Some sort of a puffy, whether it's a jacket or a vest. If I'm not anticipating really cold weather, I'll take a vest every time. And then that soft shell, that Dalibor jacket is money. But that's kind of the system that we wear. I know I took that question a little bit far there, Jackie Brown 96. Thank you for asking that question. Here's your shout out for you, dude. Or gal, maybe. I don't know. Jackie. That could be either one. So I hope that answers things for you. Again, I would say Lycos 2, 90% of the time that's what I'm probably going to have on. And then the rest of the time it's going to be either the Njord jacket or the Dalibor jacket or the Aegis. One of those jackets, you're going to have everything covered. So you're going to be warm, dry, comfortable, and hidden. So that's what we wear. All right, so next question is going to be the last one. Then I'm going to talk about, get into some Hondo stuff here. So Big Dog 01 or at Big Dog 01 asks, what's your favorite shot shell? And man, that's a really good question. It's going to obviously be a Federal premium product. And this year so far, I've really been leaning hard on the heavy bismuth shot shells from Federal. They're new. We tested them last year on the most recent hunt that's on the YouTube channel up in Montana, and they were phenomenal. They crushed birds. 3s for geese, 5s for literally everything else. Can you shoot geese with 5s? Yes, 100% you can. Thanksgiving morning, my dad and I had a hunt. We didn't film it because it was just 2 of us, and it's Thanksgiving morning. I don't want to haul a camera guy out and away from his family. And we weren't filming. We took a couple old guns out and shot the heavy bismuth through them, 2 3/4-inch 5s. And we were primarily looking at decoying mallards, but we did get a crack at a goose. And I'll tell you this, my dad shot a goose with the heavy bismuth 2 3/4-inch, 12 gauge, 2 3/4-inch 5s. And one shot, he stoned it. Stoned about 30 yards, crossing shot, right to left, over the decoys. Wasn't gonna land. I didn't have any goose decoys out, just ducks. But it came up the river and gave us a look. I was just blind calling at it, and he stoned it. Dude, it didn't cripple. It wasn't nothing. It was just on the water, laying on its back, little black feet doing the air paddle, and stone dead. I've shot pheasants with them. I've shot sharptail with them, and I've shot a bunch of ducks with them now. And guys, if I was gonna buy one shot shell to do everything with, in other words, if I was gonna go to South Dakota or Minnesota, if you guys live in the Upper Great Lakes, Minnesota, for example, where you have to shoot non-toxic on your public property, public ground for hunting pheasants, why not go with something like a heavy bismuth where you get in a scenario where you're hunting pheasants and you can jump shoot ducks too? You got one shot shell you're going to be legal across the board, and it's going to be highly effective. I know years and years ago when I hunted South Dakota a lot for pheasants. If we hunted state land, you had to shoot non-toxic, and back then I just shot Federal Speed Shock, the blue box shells, just 3-inch 2s, and they worked great on pheasants. They really did. But having the ability to not have to switch over and be able to shoot ducks, geese, basically whatever jumps up, it's like a dual shot shell. This new heavy bismuth from Federal Premium is dialed. Stuff is phenomenal. Availability seems to be pretty good on it. I've seen it in Shields. I've seen it in a couple of our local sporting goods stores. Shot shells, it seems like, are still a little, other than like Federal Blue Box, the Speed Shock stuff, which I'm finding it just about anywhere. Shot shells across the board, doesn't matter the manufacturer, seem to be down in my neck of the woods just a little bit still. The availability has definitely drastically improved from a couple of years ago, but it still can be a little tough to get something real specific. I still find guys are settling a little bit on different things, other than maybe what they want. If you can find the heavy bismuth stuff, buy it. You're going to be very pleased. You're going to be very impressed. As long as you do your job and you put the pattern on the bird, it's going to crush stuff at better distance and with better pattern density. Basically more energy than steel shot's going to give you. It's nice to be able to shoot 5s. You get a really dense pattern and a lot of knockdown power. And it's interesting when I say 5s because Zach Gust 3911 responded to that question with heavy bismuth number 5s for pheasants. And Zach, I couldn't agree more. Thank you for the question. There's your shout out, dude. I appreciate you being engaged with what we're doing here at Wingmen. And heavy bismuth number 5s for pheasants. You're going to find that it crushes roosters, crushes mallards, crushes geese if you shoot them in the face in the decoys, which that's kind of the whole point, right? Anyway, check those things out. Check out the heavy bismuth loads from Federal Premium. They're new this year. They've been just phenomenal so far for us. I'm very pleased, very impressed. I love the fact that I can buy one shot shell, one box of shells or 2 boxes of shells, and I can shoot them for everything. I can shoot ducks. I can shoot pheasants. I can shoot anything that gets up. I'm legal because they're non-toxic. and the 5s are going to perform really, really well across the board. Plus, I could shoot them in old shotguns. I shoot them in modern shotguns. They work awesome in the Savage Renegade. I love my hoodie here. They work awesome in the Savage Renegade. They pattern really well. They just crush birds out of that. But I can go throw them in an old vintage gun, and they work just, well, maybe not just as well as the Renegade, but close. Those technologies improved so much that modern shot shells and modern shotguns they're just better than the old stuff. But it's nice to be able to take the old stuff out of the safe once in a while and dust it off and go take it out for a hunt and have fun. So, especially when I got my dad along, he's really into the vintage stuff. He's got a lot of really cool vintage shotguns, both American made and from Europe. And it's fun to have a shot shell like heavy bismuth that we can just go use. So, favorite shot shell right now, yeah, man, it's probably going to be the heavy bismuth. But if I had to pick a favorite, and the funny thing is, I'm just coming off of a hunt a mule deer hunt in West Texas, and I was with some of the guys from Federal Premium on the hunt, and we're all bird hunters, and the guys from Federal were anyway, and we got talking about our favorite waterfowl load, our favorite just do all Federal Premium load, and we all kind of had to settle on the Speed Shock, which is the blue box, Federal Premium blue box, and how awesome that stuff is, how effective it is. Followed really closely with Black Cloud, but it's tough to beat the blue box for performance matched with price. You know, the blue box, the Federal Premium Speed Shock shell is still very affordable. It's readily available. Just about anywhere I go, I can find it. And especially the value packs, man, those are awesome. I love the fact that Federal does that. And you take a 3-inch, a 12-gauge 3-inch number 2, and there's not much you can't do with that load. Ducks, geese, you can shoot upland birds with it, pheasants. You probably want a smaller shot size than 2s if you're going to shoot, like huns or quail or chuckers for that matter with it. You can do it with 2s, but a denser pattern is really nice when you're dealing with smaller birds. So you go with the 4s. That work like a charm. Anyway, that's kind of was the consensus when we were in camp. We talked a lot about ammunition, and just across the board, there's a lot of awesome stuff. Obviously, the Black Cloud TSS loads are holy smokes. I mean, if it absolutely unequivocally has to die, that's your load. You know, if you're going on a swan hunt, if you're going on an eider hunt, if you're going to go shoot canvasbacks on the Mississippi in late season, if you're going to go on a hunt where you may not be going to shoot a lot, but you need results. You're going to do an eider hunt once in your life. You're going to do you've got a lot of guys that are bird collectors out there. If you're going on those hunts, and the one I would think about all the time is the emperor goose hunts in Alaska. You're going to draw this tag once in your life, and you're going to go up there and have a very limited opportunity to take home a bird. I want the best shot shell that money can buy. I want a lot of knockdown power. I want a lot of range, and TSS is the weapon of choice when it comes to stuff like that. And the Black Cloud stuff from Federal Premium being my personal favorite. I've had the most experience with that of anything. I have shot other TSS loads. The Black Cloud from Federal Premium is my favorite. Stuff is absolutely wicked. It's awesome. If I had to pick one, it'd be the BB/7 load. You could shoot ducks with it. You can shoot geese with it. You can shoot cranes with it. You can shoot turkeys with it. You can shoot anything with it. And it's just going to slay. That stuff is phenomenal. It's expensive. It can be a little bit difficult to find. But if you can get your hands on some and you've got a very limited opportunity hunt, maybe you're a guy that only hunts a couple times a year and you just want, when you pull the trigger, you want stuff to fall, that's the load. That stuff is just phenomenal. So that's kind of a roundabout answer, big answer to what is your favorite shot shell. Good question. That was a good question, Big Dog 01. And Zach Gust 3911. Thank you for answering that with heavy bismuth number 5s for pheasants. Shout out to you, dude. Appreciate that. So that kind of answers some of the questions. Guys, if you have questions, leave them on our podcast posts. Leave them on our stories, on Instagram, on Facebook. Go to the YouTube page. We put all of our podcasts on the Wingmen YouTube channel, and you can ask questions or leave comments there. If you do that, it drives engagement, and by driving engagement, it makes what we do more popular, and we can bring you more awesome content. The more popular our posts are and our podcasts are, the more eyeballs we get, the more ears we get, the more stuff like this that we can bring you, and it's just fun. I hope that you guys get some benefit out of what we do here, or what I do here, with answering questions and with bringing you tips and showing you hunts for entertainment's sake. I know the last hunt that we put up in Montana was a ton of fun. It was a great time with the guys from Federal, with a great bunch of dudes from around the country, and we just had a good time. And I like being able to share stuff like that with you, because I know when I'm flipping through YouTube, man, I want to see cool stuff. I want content that reaches out and grabs me and gets my attention and holds it, and puts me in that place with the people in the video. And I hope our content does that. I think it does, and I hope it does. We have a new video coming out next week. It is a New Year's Eve day hunt from last year. Took the kiddos out. A couple of guys from here at the office took our kiddos out, and we absolutely slayed the mallards. It was a really good time with the kids in the blind. Kind of chaos. Four little girls in the blind, and 3 Labradors and some grown men, and lots and lots of ducks. It was a really good time. So that's dropping next week. I'm excited to bring that to you. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you check that out. Leave us comments. Leave us questions. And I will give you a shout out if you ask a question on social media that I answer here on the podcast. So make sure you're doing that. Now, a little update, or a pup date, if you will, on Hondo. I've had some late season hunts, big game hunts, and I still have one left. I have a really late season elk tag that I'm kind of waiting on weather to get after. And so in the meantime, I've been trying to get out as much as I can and do some Wingmen content production. And so far, it's been all ducks. I haven't done any upland bird stuff. It's in the works. It's in the plans. But I was curious to see, last year, Hondo was about 75% steady. And what I mean by that is he would sit by the blind all day and really not move and be pretty chill. And when other people were shooting birds, he was pretty steady. He was about, like I said, when other people were shooting, I'd say he was about 90% steady. In other words, he wouldn't break on a bird. He wouldn't go until I sent him. Now, he was 2 last year during hunting season. Actually, he was like a year and a half last year during hunting season. This year, he's like 2.5. So I wondered how well he'd do coming in with a whole season under his belt last year, coming into this season. Because when I would stand up to shoot, most of the time he would break, which is not ideal. That's not at all what I wanted. So we really reined in steadiness this year. He's got hand signals quite well. He takes a cast really nicely. He doesn't have any problem with marks, especially even he handles well enough where I can send him on a single mark and there's other birds, so he'll have multiple blinds when he's done. And he handles well enough where I can direct him on blinds, and he's done a pretty good job. Now, this year was an exceptional year as far as water volume in the West, in my part of the woods. We had a ton of water in the river all summer long, and it was not conducive. In fact, it was downright dangerous to running drills in the river to simulate most of the hunting that we do. Very dangerous for the dog. Water was too big. So we ran a lot of still stuff, a lot of ponds, lakes. In the cools of the evening, I would run lots of single marks just in the backyard and really drilling down, focusing on steadiness with him. I played a lot of baseball where I would go and I would put him on the pitcher's mound and I would walk to each base, and first I would put bumpers at each base, and then next I was throwing them way into the outfield, so we had to do memory marks. And then I would stand at home plate and I would cast him in different directions from the pitcher's mound. He was very good at that, very steady. The first time I had him out this year, he did not break at all. My dad do most of the shooting, but he was steady when Dad was shooting. I wasn't too worried about that. But when I stood up to shoot, he was rock solid. He didn't budge. That was an improvement over last year, and that was due, there's no doubt in my mind, it was due to the steadiness work that we drilled down into and that we really focused on throughout the year after last season. And there's some things that I did specifically that I think are worth sharing. And it's not that I'm some duck dog guru, because I'm not. There are things I picked up talking to guys like Barton Ramsey, talking to guys like Corey Wages, talking to guys like Wade Skeen, talking to guys, all different kinds of dog trainers. Those are just some of the guys that I've had on multiple times, so they're kind of recent in my memory. But I've had on, my goodness, Sporting Life Kennels, Marty from Sporting Life. I've had on Riverstone Kennels. I've had on a pile of dog trainers on this podcast, and I apologize to you guys for not being able to remember names right off the top of my head. But you guys have all been influential in the training of my dogs, and I'm sure, at least I hope, that you're listening to this, that you know that you've been influential in training other people's dogs through what they've heard on this podcast and through other media that you have put out there. I think anytime that you're involved in training a dog, if you're not trying to glean lots of information and figure out what works for you, I think you probably got a pretty narrow focus. And so with Hondo, I know the mistakes I've made over the years with Mackinac and with my other dog, with my first lab, Josie, and back when we were kids too. I know the mistakes that we made and that I made. I didn't want to do those again. So I listened to a lot of folks who train a lot of dogs, and I've kind of tried to compile everything that I've pulled from them. So what did I do over the course of the summer that helped Hondo be 100% steady so far this year? Literally has not broke on a single mark. Not once. This episode of the Wingmen podcast is brought to you by Cryptek. Guys, being concealed and staying in the field as long as you want to be in the field are two very important tenets of waterfowl hunting. And I have to be honest with you, I love the fact that I can align with a company like Cryptek and be partnered with them, because we share the same ideals, we have the same passions, and it shows. It shows in the products that they develop, in the camouflage patterns that they have, and I am stoked to be partnered with them. Check out the full lineup of everything they have, and hey, shoot me a message here at Wingmen headquarters, and I can give you a rundown of exactly what pieces I like the best from Cryptek. Whether Mackinaw's there or another dog's there, or he's just, boom, he's steady, solid. So there's been lots of things that I drilled down into, and there's simple things that you guys can do if you remember them. And I remember them. I remember them too. First thing is, Hondo, neither of my dogs, but Hondo especially, is not allowed to go through a door before I am, or my kids, or my wife, or any human being for that matter. He needs to sit, and he has to stay until he is told to go through the door. And I know some people out there that would think, oh, that's kind of harsh, dude. Like, no, it's not harsh at all. That dog is on the third rung in my family, below my wife and my kids. That's where my dogs are. And if I have other family there, he's on the fourth rung of level of importance. And he needs to know that he has a job to do. He's not allowed to go through doors. He's not allowed to budge past people down stairwells. He has to be under control. And what that does is it fosters steadiness. It doesn't allow him to just break and do whatever he wants whenever he wants. He has to be released and told, Hondo, go outside. Hondo, I use his name as a release command almost always. Or I look at him and I've coupled it with, like a hand signal. So I'll be standing at the sliding door. Both labs, both Hondo and Mackinac will be sitting in front of me on the porch. I open it. They're not allowed to just barge in the house. I always bring Mackinac in first. He's the old dog. It's just how I do it. I say Mackinac, and I kind of use my hands. Dogs are smart. They figure it out. And then Hondo, and they come in the house. Go outside, it's the same thing. I say Hondo, outside. Mackinac, outside. But they don't just get to go. They have to be released. Same thing when the dogs eat. They have to sit and they wait. Most of the time with Hondo, I put him on place, whether it's a mat or a bed or whatever it is I'm using for place. I make him place, and I will not let him eat until he is released. And I've taught my kids to do the same thing. My kids, because they just want to get the chore done quickly, have a tendency to go a little fast with it. So I kind of monitor that, and I've told my kids they have to count to 3 before they release Hondo to eat. What that does is it slows the whole process down, and it makes him wait and be patient. And he's like raring to go, right? There's food in the bowl. He wants to eat it. High drive dog. But again, it's reinforcing the steadiness. It's reinforcing he has to be patient. He has to listen. He has to be under control. What that does, so let's talk about, go back up for a second, whether that is waiting to go fetch a bumper, whether that's waiting to eat, whether that is waiting to come through a door or waiting to load up in the back of the truck or whatever it might be, everything is controlled. I want control of that dog in the field. I have to have control of him in a blind, especially a goose blind in a dry land set. Think A-frames, for example. I got to have control of that dog. I got to have control of him on these fast rivers. He can't just go whenever he wants to, because we might be hunting in a dangerous place where I need to put him in the water in a certain location so he doesn't get swept under a log or get himself in trouble. I have to be able to maintain control of him. So the steadiness drills, whether it's waiting for food, waiting for a bumper, waiting to come in the house, waiting to go out of the house, whatever it might be, it just reinforces steadiness. It reinforces hold. It reinforces wait. You wait until I release you. And I honestly think going into this year that we did so much of that now that he's 2.5, he's had that drilled into him now for 2.5 years. And I honestly think that is why he hasn't broke yet this year. Will he break? Yes. He's a dog. He's not a robot. He's going to break at some point. He's going to get around other dogs. There's going to be an exciting situation. He's going to get amped up, and he's going to break. It'll probably be on a goose because he really is, man, he loves geese for some reason. And it's probably going to be in a goose field someplace that he's going to go. I'm going to stand up to shoot, and he's going to break. So I'm going to rein him in. I'm going to make him sit, and we're going to start from square one. We're going to just keep pounding it in. I do run an e-collar on him for that singular purpose that if he breaks, I can remind him a little bit. I try to use the tone button first. A lot of times he blasts right through the tone, and then it's just the little nick as a reminder, like, hey, dude, get back here, and I heal him up, and he doesn't get to make that retrieve. Maybe Mackinac makes that retrieve. Maybe I go get the bird myself if I can. That's a no-no. You've got consequences. So I've been very pleased with how steady Hondo is. We're going to continue to work on casting, continue to work on back, continue to work on just lining him up on a blind and going, because most of the dog training that I do, I'm solo, and it's really hard to run blinds solo. So will he do a blind? Yes, he will. Will he do it as well as Mackinac does? No, but he doesn't have 11 years of hunting experience either. So we're getting there. I guess that's a good point too. 11 years worth of hunting experience. Just like you can't put yourself in where someone else is and judge yourself based on somebody else. Don't judge your dog based on another dog, whether it's your own or somebody else's. Every dog is a little different. They're just like people in that regard. They all have a little different personality. They learn a little bit different, a little quicker, a little slower, whatever it might be. Your dog is your dog. And if you're putting in the work, if you're disciplined and you're getting after it, your dog's going to probably be just fine. Just because your buddy's dog does something a certain way doesn't mean you should measure your dog against that. I guarantee you that your dog does things that your buddy's dog does things better than some things that your buddy's dog does or doesn't do very well. You know, for every dog that's out there that just crushes blind retrieves, I'll show you a dog that maybe isn't all that steady. Maybe a dog that's super steady struggles on blinds. You know, who knows what it might be, but that same dog might be really, really good at single marks. You know, whatever it might be, find your dog's strengths, play into that, increase that confidence, build that confidence, and then continually drill down and work on it every single day. If you want a dog that's pleasant to be around, that's controllable, that everybody enjoys hunting with, it takes time, and it takes dedication, and it takes discipline. I don't feel like working the dog today. That's when you need to go out and you need to work the dog. No different than getting off the couch and going for a walk. You know, there's whatever it might be. That discipline will pay dividends for you. I've been extremely disciplined in Hondo's steadiness because that was something that was very important to me. Honestly, because it drove me nuts that Mackinac is not steady, has never been steady. Kind of bothered me. And so I really wanted Hondo to not be that way. Again, we learn from our mistakes, right? And so far he's not. So far he's not like Mackinac, I should say. So far he's perfectly steady. It's great. Are there other things we need to continue to work on? Absolutely, you betcha. And as the season progresses, we 100% will. We're supposed to get some cold weather here the end of the week, and I'm hoping that birds show up. Right now, this part of the world, we don't have much for birds. I'm having to travel, and with the schedule, my work schedule being what it is right now, I guess I just transitioned into a flyway update, and that's okay. With my work schedule being what it is right now, I haven't been able to travel to hunt birds, but I think that's going to change, and we're going to go up and get after it. Probably pop up into Montana in the next couple weeks and see what we can find up there. Definitely be hunting around here, even though I don't have a ton of birds. Our goose season opens again permanently for good for the rest of the season on Friday, and probably going to get the guys out, get them in the blind, and see if we can shoot some honkers. So anyway, that's our update. That's my solo podcast this episode. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Guys, leave us a comment. Let me know who you want to see on this podcast. Who do you want to hear? What do you want me to talk about? This is your podcast, man. I do this for you guys so you have something to listen to and enjoy, and I want to cater to you. Tell me what guests you want. Tell me what you want me to talk about, and I will do my best. Shoot me questions. I'll answer them, and I'll give you a shout-out as well. Guys, thanks for listening to this episode, and until next time, we'll see you in the field.